And that's you up to date with the business news. Stephen Carroll will have more at 8:15 Paris time. It's time to take a look at what's making the headlines in the French press, and it's Haxi Mars-Belkin who joins us this morning. Hi Haxi. Well, of course, one story that's caught all the papers' imagination, isn't there?
Absolutely. The front page of Libération leads with the headline, Shakespeare Empire, even worse than Shakespeare. This, of course, the paper's reaction to the leader of the pro-Brexit campaign, Boris Johnson, announcing that he will not be putting forward a bid to become the UK's next Prime Minister. Now, this shock move came just hours after Boris's key ally during the Brexit campaign, Justice Secretary Michael Gove, threw his hat into the ring, insisting that Johnson wasn't up to the task. For this paper, a betrayal of Shakespearean proportions.
Yeah, not just so much stabbing in the back as stabbing in the front as well. Well, this left-wing pro-EU paper isn't exactly pro-Boris, is it? And they've got some rather damning words for him.
And they absolutely do. In the paper's editorial on page 2, we read that Johnson is unable to take responsibility for his actions. This is, after all, the man who broke away from Cameron's pro-Remain stance to make a name for himself as the leader of the Eurosceptic movement. He won the fight, but Libération says he's now completely discredited himself by refusing to run for the top job. And that's not all. The paper says that Brits are now discovering, a little too late of course, that the EU is a larger force to be reckoned with than many had previously thought, and that their leadership is in effect non-existent.
Well, let's take a look at the wider implications of the UK's pro-Brexit vote, Haxi. We've heard about the Brits who are living in Europe, but what about the French citizens who call the UK home?
There are 300,000 French people living in the UK at the moment, and this article in Les Echos says that many of them are both angry and worried at the result of the referendum. People feel they've been flung into a period of political and economic uncertainty. And not only that, many are reporting a rise in anti-foreigner sentiment across the UK in the wake of the vote, and they feel that the open-hearted, tolerant character of the UK is somewhat under threat.
That's not the case for everyone, though, is it?
Absolutely. For every French person worried about whether or not they still feel that their place is in the UK after a Brexit vote, there's another who's working out how to get their hands on a British passport. It's no different, really, from the thousands of British citizens who've been trying to get hold of EU passports in the last week.
Let's take a look at the Catholic paper La Croix now. They're examining how French attitudes to the EU have changed since that vote.
Les Français disent oui à l'Europe. The French say yes to Europe, reads the front page of this newspaper. They've conducted a poll that they say shows that support for French membership of the EU has only strengthened in the days since Brexit. Let's take a look at that survey in a little bit more detail. We see here that if there were an identical referendum today in France, 61% of people would vote to stay in the EU, and that shoots up to 78% among supporters of mainstream political parties on both the left and the right. And it's also worth mentioning that a majority of people who replied to this question, 55% of respondents didn't even feel that there was a need for any such vote in the near future.
OK, well, let's look at more votes. We have, of course, got the French general election coming up in less than a year, and neither the incumbent socialist President Hollande nor the leader of the opposition Les Républicains party, former President Nicolas Sarkozy, have even announced that they're running yet, have they?
Well, le jeu reste ouvert. It's all to play for, reads Le Figaro's front page, a story about the upcoming primaries for the presidential candidate for centre-right party Les Républicains. As it stands, Bordeaux Mayor Alain Juppé has the support of 37% of voters, and Sarkozy has 30%. So there's a 7% gap there. But Le Figaro warns that that gap is closing. OK, well, the Le Parisien is saying that Sarkozy is gearing up for a very active summer. The summer of the beast is the headline here. The article says Sarkozy's told his entourage he's going to wait until the end of August to officially announce that he plans to run for president again. It's the best, worst-kept secret of French politics. Analysts say he's got a shot of winning Les Républicains' primary in November, but between now and then, expect to see a very busy Sarko. He's going to transform from leader of the opposition into a fully fledged candidate. Get ready to see a lot of photo opportunities. Sarko on a bike, Sarko in a playing football with local kids. The political beast that is Sarkozy is getting ready for his next fight.
I don't know if I want to wait for any photos of Sarko on a football pitch, to be honest with you, Haxie, but thank you for that. Haxie Mars-Belkin with the French Press Review. More from Haxie, of course, when she joins me around 9:15 for the International Press Review.